Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm breaking down Key and Peele's Aerobics Meltdown sketch. But first, if you find value from this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And comment below with what sketch you want me to break down in a future video. Alright, let's get to it. So a sketch is just a visual representation of a joke, which is why I teach stand-up, improv, and sketch in an integrated way in my Intro to Comedy course for Udemy, which you can check out by visiting the link in the description box below. The central joke of this sketch is, what if an aerobics athlete had to compete while hearing the worst news of his life? This hits on a basic laugh trigger, incongruity. Incongruity is when something is out of place. In comedy, it's when two dissimilar things are brought together and the comedian finds a link that connects these two opposing situations. So why might an athlete have to strain to smile during an aerobics competition? Because he's hearing the worst news of his life and he can't respond appropriately. In my Intro to Comedy course that I already mentioned, don't you appreciate the subtle advertising? I outlined the various types of sketches. I also explained that a sketch, like what we watch on a sketch TV show, can employ multiple types of sketches in one sketch. And the reason for this is because a lot of these sketches are written by multiple writers in a writer's room, all who have their own sketch comedy training. So you're just combining all of their sketch comedy expertise and coming up with these probably more complex sketches than we could write on our own. So keeping that in mind, let's identify the types of sketches that you see in this sketch. So first off, it's a parody. A parody is an imitation of something already known. In this case, this sketch is a parody of an actual aerobics competition that used to happen. And you can watch the original clip that this sketch is based off of. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description box as well. In fact, I encourage you to watch the original clip that this sketch is based off of and pay attention to just how many of the details they employed in their parody. Like, they matched detail for detail. The movements, the costumes, the whole set. Parody is an opportunity for you to commit, and commit they did. I would primarily categorize this sketch as an inappropriate response sketch. As the name implies, it's when you have an inappropriate response to something or to a situation. Having to smile and keep going is an inappropriate response while hearing that, spoiler alert, which you should watch the sketch before watching this breakdown, because if not, this breakdown won't make sense. So the inappropriate response is having to smile while hearing that your wife and child are in the hospital, possibly dying from a life-threatening injury that was possibly caused by your competitor. Note that it's an inappropriate response that's out of his control, though. And that's what makes it funny. He's not being a jerk and smiling like, okay, my wife and child are in the hospital. No, he has to. He's in the middle of a competition. They're literally on the sidelines saying, keep going. A sketch should have these 5 components: a setup, conflict, game, heightening, and a button. The setup is done visually, which is the advantage of doing sketch for the screen. As is the case with a lot of sketches that are made for TV, the setup is usually accomplished visually. So right up top, we see that this is the Jazz Fit Championship. The voiceover also introduces us, therefore setting us up for something to happen in this world. A conflict is introduced like after a solid minute of setting up this sketch, and we see the producer on the sidelines like scribbling down on some cue cards. And you'll also notice that a change in the music happens. Key's character also notices as he kind of like what's going on. The conflict becomes clear as the cue cards explain the situation. I would summarize the game as keep going. Notice that they repeat that in the cue cards. Keep going, even as the news gets worse and worse. That's an indication of what the funny thing is. Remember, the best way to test your understanding of the game of the sketch is to come up with a second beat of the sketch, or like a part two. So if we were going to take this game and set it in a new situation with new characters, what's a possible scenario for that? I might pitch a situation where Miss America is in the middle of a beauty pageant of some sort, and she has to, maintain her composure while finding out that her family has died in a devastating fire. I don't know. That's really awful, you guys. So the heightening happens as the story unfolds, and as I always say, heightening is best indicated by strong emotional reactions. So pay attention to the emotional component of the comedic situation. In this case, it's Key's character having to hold back the tears. He's like smiling and competing for his life, essentially. A button is basically like the ending of a sketch. It can be like a final beat of the game or the joke, or it can be like a surprise twist. It doesn't have to necessarily resolve the conflict. It just has to end this moment, preferably on a funny note. So the button in this sketch, everything just kind of crescendos as Keegan-Michael Key's character does this final movement towards his competitor and finally breaks down and tries to kill him while having an emotional breakdown himself. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, I also have this one where I break down SNL's iceberg sketch. I'll leave a link to it down below as well. I'll see you in the next video.